are your relationships to the elders, people who have taught us? And
So I always start off by saying my first teachers were my parents. My dad came from Jamaica, my mom came from Grenada, so like a Caribbean household. And we had basement parties all the time, like soca, reggae, funk, disco. Like I heard all that music like as a young child, like rhythm and blues, R&B, Anita Baker, like all of that. Like I just such a source for some really rich music experiences. And then to witness like aunties and uncles like dancing together from this like spirited place is something I reflect on all the time. And I recognize it like, and I see it in my work. And not knowing that those experiences as a young child were actually informing how my relationship to music is, and the type of work I want to do, and the type of people I want to interact with, and how I want to interact with them. So I think when my parents met here and they created this environment of bringing Caribbean traditions to Toronto, I always say that those are my first lessons. Those are my first teachers. Those are my first experiences of what dance in the social space is. Those are the first ones. And I always have to talk and shout out Monsell Durden.
Hey.
So Monsell, he's actually from Philadelphia, originally from Philadelphia, but now he's based in California, teaching at University of Southern California. And he and I met in, I think, 2007, 2008, when I was living in Vancouver at the time. And when I thought I knew jazz dance, Monsell showed me I did not know nothing about jazz dance. He created this documentary called Everything Remains Raw that looks at the lineage of African-American social dances from the 1900s onwards. And at the time, I was like heavy in like hip hop and house dance and doing the thing, getting down. And then when I saw the film and he's showing all this black and white footage and showing, you know, like what real jazz dancing looks like, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. That's not what I learned as a kid, and what I'm doing now actually looks more closer to that thing, and I want to know more about that thing. So fast forward, Monsell and I connect again, I think around 2011. He comes to Toronto, I've moved back. He shows another screening of the documentary again, and I'm like, Monsell, I want to learn more. And I'm having an awakening moment. I'm going through my own life transition. This is what I want to explore more, and he welcomed me with open arms and says, yeah, let's do the thing. So thankfully I was able to apply for grants and got some funding from the Ontario Arts Council and the Canada Council for the Arts to spend the summer in New York, just dive into the thing. And he was just so open and just, I don't know what the word is to explain how much I value what he shared with me, how open he was, how generous he was, because he didn't have to do that. I will never forget, and he continues to be my mentor from afar. I reach out to him whenever I can, and I'm so grateful for what he offered me, which has pretty much transformed my life. It's truly transformed my life. Through him, I connected with another woman by the name of Margaret Bottichuk, and she lives in New York, and she used to partner with Frankie Manning, one of his last partners. And I had an opportunity, she was my first like Lindy Hop teacher. And her and I are still connected. Through her, I connected with Charlie Meade. Charlie's probably in his 80s, mid 80s, probably close to 90s now. And I had an opportunity to dance with Charlie Meade, an early generation Lindy Hop dancer. And those experiences just shifted my entire existence as an artist. And for them, I'm just like, I'm so grateful.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm 10 years old. I don't know anything. I'm socially awkward, very socially awkward. And I happened upon Ethel Bruno, who's otherwise known as Miss Swing, originally from Harlem, New York. Moves to Montreal eventually, but she was born in this specific soup. And her mother would cook food for the acts that were performing in the Apollo Theater. So, one day she'll say, Ethel, go bring this food to Bunny Briggs, wonderful tap dancer who's playing at the Apollo. And she would bring the food, and because she was learning from her teacher, Mary Bruce, in New York, she would nerd out on Bunny and be like, yo, show me a step. Can you show me a step? Can you show me a step? Here's some food. You want some more food? Can you show me a step, please? And Bunny would oblige. It's this community atmosphere, this vibe that I'm trying to get at. And so by the time I get to her, I'm 10 years old. I don't know anything about anything. I'm born and raised in Montreal. The only thing I know about Black history is what my parents have taught me. And here I have this suddenly like a fountain swell of history about Black people from this astonishing Black woman who's teaching me how to tap dance. And as I'm growing up in her studio, I recognize that not everybody's getting this information, back to oral tradition. Because tap dance is set up in a very specific way, because of luminaries like Jane Goldberg, for one, Brenda Buffalino, we have, all around the world there are these tap dance festivals today. It started out in the mid 70s with one, and then today there's, I guess not today because of the pandemic, but there's a lot of them. The thing about these festivals, you learn from a bunch of different teachers, but the real learning happens in the hang. And if you're, depending on your level of nerd, you're gonna hang around some of the teachers. And some of the teachers that I hung around, I just named, including Heather Cornell. Heather Cornell gave me one of the best lessons I've ever, I was sitting watching her rehearse, and I had no shame. I was just like, can you teach me that? Can you teach me that? And no money, I'm not talking about money, I'm just an interested person. I was interested in learning this routine called Laura, which was choreographed by the late great tap master Buster Brown. And the gift that Heather Cornell gave me was, she didn't teach me the thing. She gave it to me like she got it. And so she said, oh, you want to learn this thing? Okay. Got it? No, try again. It wasn't brutal. It wasn't like, it was very generous, but she wasn't spoon feeding me. She wasn't teaching me. And in that moment, she became my mentor. I'm beyond grateful to these people because they taught me not just the dance, but they taught me themselves. Mm-hmm. They taught me how to approach the thing. They taught me how to survive to where, inshallah, God willing, I'm pretty confident that I'll be an elder in this world.
I crave mentorship a lot. Feels like it's been an interesting journey for me. I think it's maybe a little less fuzzy. I think I crave that tradition, that person, that family, that when we were at that award show and you were with Ethel, and she was with her family, and you're with your family, and all the children knew the steps. Right? 3 years old, 5 years old, they all knew the steps. I could cry, when I watched that. And how Ethel was there, and you were there, and her children there, and their children were there, and everyone knew the steps. It was a beautiful thing. And when you speak of food and all these things, and I'm not sure that I've had exactly that experience yet. but I'm still searching. And I've had a lot of people who are very generous along the way. There comes like a certain amount of vulnerability required to both be a mentor and to be a mentee. Mm-hmm. And I think that depending on the stuff that you carry with you, and I mean like the stuff, that can be something that is challenging for certain people. I think it's like a magical thing that exists when two of the right fit just click into a thing. I've had some incredible people in my life, but I've never had a consistent kind of mentor, you know, and I'm still searching. But I know that maybe that's not what it always has to be. Maybe that's okay. Because like there are so many chapters in a person's life. And I've had people along the way that create and that are a part of certain chapters, like my high school music teacher. Bless public high school music teachers. Phil Legault was my primary like music teacher, and Valérie Lacombe, and both of them would let me eat my lunch and practice my saxophone in their space while they're eating lunch. Whereas other teachers would close the door and they're like, this is my time to be alone. I had this like man, Phil Legault, who really pushed me to do music, to keep going, like saw the potential.
That's huge.
It was a long time ago, but I wouldn't be here without that.
Rose petals seem to fall. It's all like a dream to come. My heart's alive again since you made this night a
And I'm really very privileged to have parents that also, along the lines of what you're saying, but for me, like, who also encouraged me to pursue music. So many people are like, no, don't do that. It's a waste of time, not enough money, you know, etc. It takes a certain amount of privilege and of luck to get parents like mine who were like, put me in voice lessons when I was 7 years old. Mm-hmm. I'll just finish by talking for a second about my grandfather, because it's really important to me that I mention my grandfather Leo, because he was like the most incredible musician, and he passed away when I was quite young, but he believed in me the most out of everybody. Mm-hmm. And he played every instrument, and he had every instrument. And I would go there and it would be like going to like the amusement park of all the instruments, like the organs and the keyboards, and he had this like junk room of like gear and like stuff, and he'd be like, play this, try this, and here's my guitar, play that, you know? And that was really inspiring to me. And when he passed away, I had like the absolute gift of all of his like musical belongings. Like he passed that on to me.
in a sentimental I'm within a world so heavenly, for I never dreamt that he'd be loving sound to
I really hope that our communities can foster these kind of mentorships, you know, and sometimes, yeah, of course, with an exchange, but maybe also sometimes not. Yeah. Like, you know, and I can't help but circle back quickly about jams and that kind of culture and this jazz culture that we're in, because it's like there's a lot of generosity in the moment. Yeah. And I really hope that we can make a future where that's like in the agenda, you know, and I want to give back, and I would love to mentor somebody one day.
You brought up something too, Jenna, about like a time in your life that you might be needing or realizing that maybe your craft or your practice or you as a person just require this type of support, or maybe you're looking for this type of thing. Like for me, like I'm a new mother. I'm also like a choreographer, so I make things for stage. And I was lucky to be part of a fellowship with Why Not Theater, where they paired us with another artist, artistic director, or choreographer. And I was really lucky that I got paired with the incomparable Crystal Pite. And she too is also a mother and has made, like, her resume and her repertoire is magnificent. So there was like a little bit of like nerve-wracking sense to be like in the Zoom world with her. Like this is in also during like pandemic times, so we didn't get to actually be in a dance studio together, but we shared the interweb together. And the conversations around not just like the making of art, but our humanity, our mothering, and how that all fits into the picture of who we are as people. Like I couldn't have asked for anything more. And that's the type of mentorship, or that's the type of relationship that I needed at this juncture in my life in the middle of a pandemic, right? And like mentorship, like you were saying, it doesn't always have to be this, like there isn't like a set model or a set way that mentorship has to look like. I think it can be unique to whatever someone needs at that time and at that stage. And I think that's something to be considered as well, because I think sometimes we force like, get a mentor, you need to do this, you need to be searching out for this. I think we need to be sort of understanding the individual and where they're at and listen. Like you said, the main ingredient, the most important thing is to listen.